Hello, listeners. Sophie here with a quick announcement. Have you ever thought to yourself, dang, I really like Reckless Attack, but I wish I had a place to hang out with other people who also like Reckless Attack? Well, good news. We have launched a Discord server. That's right, a brand new place to chat with fellow fans, share dog pictures, and stay up to date with everything going on at Reckless Attack Studios. And it's live right now. You can find links to the Discord server on our website, www.recklessattack.com, or in the show notes of our latest episodes. We've also got special rooms for our patrons and lots of fun events planned, so come on by and say hey. We're so excited to be launching this space, and we can't wait for you to join in on the fun. Find the link on our website, recklessattack.com, or check out the show notes. And now, on to the rest of the episode.
Pure white light surrounds you all. It is unnaturally bright to the point of going past being comfortable. It is like if a fluorescent light bulb was a place. You guys are all a little disoriented for a moment as you look around, taking a moment to remember where you are. Inside, finally, the restricted section of the public library of the Red City of Agmar. And you look around, and you find yourself in a totally empty, seemingly infinite, white void. No corners visible, no seams, no walls. You don't know if it is just a very well-painted room or if it is something else entirely. And it takes you guys a little bit to orient yourself. You came through this big vault door that had all of this beautiful shining color of arcane energy, only to be met with nothing. How are each of you reacting in this moment? And who are you? I'm GM Nathan. Hi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Steve, and I am playing Sylv Asterlin, the Dragonborn monk, whose first response would be to look around and see if he can see the other members of his party.
Absolutely. It takes a second. Again, you're kind of just like your eyes cross at the infinite in front of you, and then you look around and infinity, Kaskrin. Everyone is there. Everyone is standing seemingly in the exact same positions that you walked in at. Anyone who is kind of at the back would see in front of you that there are people. And yeah, you're all just standing there entirely alone.
So for Checkers, the Grung Druid, and his trusty frog pals, Mango and Junior, this is not at all what we were expecting in the slightest. You know, we entered the vault door, the runes lit up, the massive burst of energy came flying at us, and then all of a sudden, blank emptiness. Checkers takes just a few seconds to orient himself, just kind of see where everyone is, and then he gets bored.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's no stimulation. Nothing.
So Checkers spends probably a few minutes, honestly, practicing what I'm calling his fastball special, in that he is picking Junior up out of his hat and just like hucking Junior into the void as far as he'll go and seeing what happens.
Yeah, and it, which is horrifying because it's just a tiny little frog.
But also, I feel like if you're developing a fastball special, Checkers has made like a little like wingsuit or glider
Yes.
that Junior can like deploy to get extra distance.
Right.
Do you use a sling kind of
Yeah.
thing to
But does he
really
go in a
build up
slingshot?
Yeah.
centrifugal force?
So what you all see is Junior with a little cape and goggles gets flung out of a sling, disappears into the void, and then Checkers pulls Junior out of his hat again and flings him in a different direction.
And again, you can't tell if he disappears or if it's just far enough away with such blinding whiteness that the tiny speck of frog just disappears, basically.
Kaskrin, in much the same way that Checkers is like, was on edge and then now is bored. He came in, like, we had all of these scenarios of like what could possibly happen, but had never planned for nothing to happen.
This was not in the brochure.
You know, fair.
And so I imagine too, like, we've got our like, ropes tied around each other to like, just in case we all get separated or something. And now he's just kind of like poking the air, doing experiments, like, shining a little flashlight or bringing a little torch out and just like seeing like, what is this space? Like, it can't just be nothing.
Are you guys walking for, like, and I'm asking you, David, to make a decision on behalf of the group. Do you guys think the vibe is like, we're hunkering here to figure out where we're going? Or are you trying to venture, just like keep walking forward to hope that God, something shows up?
We are walking forward, albeit slowly.
Mm-hmm.
As we're walking, do our footsteps make any sounds? And does it sound like stone, or does it sound like dirt, or does it sound like,
It is making footstep sounds, but it's all muffled. And it's muffled to the point where, like, what are we walking on? It's not uncomfortable. Like, it's not mushy, Like, it's not a bad sense, but it's like just nothing. Like, it's bland whatever. That is just making these little, almost like faint but muted footsteps. And that's the only sounds you hear are the sounds you guys are making.
That's like every sense. It's
Yes.
just muted nothing.
Yes.
Ugh.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sophie. I play Valeska Carter, the human Astric cleric of the Arcana domain. And Val is probably walking right next to Kaskrin, who's leading us around. And Val is surprised. She was hoping to see infinite rows of books and almanacs, maybe like a rare tome
Really want to
section.
check out that almanac section.
Yeah.
What are the restricted almanacs?
Yeah.
Hell yes.
But as she's walking, you can really see the difference in body language between her and most likely the rest of the group. Like, Kaskrin is on high alert,
Looking for the romance section. Yep.
looking for the romance section,
Alert is one word for it, I guess. Yeah, sure.
but like ready for something to happen. Checkers is just slinging frogs.
The same frog over and over.
Slinging,
somehow.
slinging
Terrible.
one purple frog.
Terrible thing.
And Cello was just looking around, trying to like puzzle out the situation. Val is, after like a brief moment, no longer worried necessarily about this room, but more inquisitive, and goes from a like battle ready stance into one where she like hooks her thumbs underneath her backpack straps and is kind of more just looking around, getting the vibe of the room and thinking about every library that she has been in. This wouldn't be her first time in a restricted section. She's very good at getting those passes and,
And persistent,
and
I would imagine.
persistence, yes. So she goes kind of walking a little bit forward, and then just to no one, to this space itself, says, "Hello. Is there anyone here who could help us? We're looking for some books."
Immediately, the four of you hear a blood-curdling scream coming from some highly distant place. Just like pain and horror and torture, just from some far corner of existence. It's muted and then just comes screaming towards you. It is so loud, and it seems like it is everywhere and is the only thing not muted in this entire place. And as you guys are reacting, and you barely even have time to react, thunk! A desk appears in front of you. And then there's another scream, exactly the same, from far away. And a pile of books appears. Just thud. It is like 8 books high.
Mm-hmm.
Another scream. Shwa! Bah! Is a chair. And this chair has a skeleton on it. And the skeleton is just leaning over onto this desk. Finally, one final scream, but there's no thud. And there's silence for just a moment. And then an incorporeal being sits up from where the bones are. The bones are still on the desk, and a ghostly male dwarf sits up, wide-eyed, looking at the desk, not even looking at you guys, looking around, kind of taking it all in, looking frazzled, looking harried, and then slowly looks up at the 4 of you standing there and just stares.
Hello. My name is Valeska. What's your name?
He's just still looking at you all. Like, his mouth now has, like, gone fully slack.
Selv will take a step and straighten himself up, and then stands up a little bit straighter and visibly tries to relax himself.
Pushing his own shoulders downward.
Yes, pushing shoulders downward and maybe stretching a little bit to release some tension in his arms.
I'm sorry if we have surprised you.
Cascarin will raise his hands up in like a we mean you no harm gesture and says, "That was quite an entrance there, friend. We're here in peace. We're just looking around."
You seem like you may have some confusion as to what's going on. Are there any questions we can answer for you?
First question. Do you know you're dead?
He, like, looks down at his skeleton through his ghostly hands, and he puts his hands down on the table and looks back up at you guys. Does this real do? Use you real is.
Yes, we are real.
We are real. Yes.
And just what language are they speaking?
They are speaking Pentarchy Standard.
Okay.
Question back to Pentarchy Standard.
Yes.
Does everyone here speak Pentarchy Standard?
Yeah, exactly. Or at least close enough. Like, that is the kind of, like, the lingua franca of the area, basically. Is, like, the common of this section.
Cascarin will say to the man, still, he's obviously still terrified of like, do you understand us? Can you understand the words that we're saying? Blink once for yes, blink twice for no.
He says mostly to Nathan, who has not blunk once. He extends his hand towards you, Cascarin, and like looks at his hand and looks at you, and then kind of like gestures you, kind of waggles his fingers, his ghostly fingers, to like approach the desk.
Cascarin, first making sure there's no like obvious traps, will take a few steps forward and indulge him in whatever he's trying to do.
He tries to grab your hand, and it just passes straight through you. Dead.
Sir, I know this is a difficult thing to process. You may have just been brought forth from a non-being place that did not feel like the afterlife that you had planned. I would like you to just think some calming thoughts right now. And Val is going into like the aftercare she has been taught in like dealing with ghosts, because this is not the first time she's probably experienced this. There's probably like a ghost training yard in the Illustrious
There's just
Museum.
ghosts who like role play, being ill at ease.
Mm-hmm.
And you see he like opens his mouth to take a breath and then just like
Yes, unfortunately, you won't get the sensation of a calming breath. So let's think calming thoughts. What brings you peace? I'd like you to just think about that. Sometimes people find just counting helps. Just think calm.
books.
Books are a great example.
Books are a
What's
terrible
your
example.
favorite? Val chucks whatever she can.
Chucks a pouch of granola at Caskrin and be
Yeah.
like, here, eat this.
What's your favorite book? What book brings you the most joy?
And why is it the Pentarchy Proclamations, Volume 19?
What?
I said, why is
Did
your
they
favorite?
come? You? With, 5?
Yes, I love the 5. They're my favorite number.
Val, mind links, checkers. He's talking about the Pentarchy.
Yeah. That's what I said. That's what I said. I know.
Of my groups of 5 people, they
Right.
are my favorite.
Yeah.
In book place.
Yes.
Library.
Library close. I hear.
Did you say the library closed while you were here?
The wheel door.
The vault door closed and
Yes.
you were still
he
in
does-
the restricted
He
section.
does the he touches his nose, affirmation. You hear the 5 help me.
Are you asking if the Pentarchy sent us to get you out?
Yes. Haven't talked in
What is the last date that you remember? When did you get stuck in here?
And you can see as you ask him that question, he goes from kind of like frazzled and wild-eyed to like somber, where he's like locking into reality a little bit more. And he's like,
And Caskrin will say, we weren't sent here to get you out. But that doesn't mean that we can't. For us to be able to do that, we're going to need some of your help as well. And Caskrin will kind of explain a little bit, like, we're here looking for something. We're here looking for books in particular.
books. And he points to one of the piles of books. And now that you look at the pile of books, you guys notice as he like gestures at the pile of books that several of them are just empty covers that have no paper in them.
Oh.
This is a library. I find books.
That would be fantastic. We'd appreciate it so much. Can you remember your name at all?
Yes. And he like looks at his desk and he just like starts rifling through, like opening drawers in it, and finds something and holds it in his kind of ghostly hands. And he looks at it like it's the greatest treasure in the world, and then puts it down at the far end of the desk. And you see it's a name tag that says, "Hello,
Aw.
my name is." And he says out loud, "Titanius Nax Hammer." Locked in here. It's coming back.
It's a lot to process. Remember, just like think some calming thoughts as these other memories come back.
Boy. When you say that it's a lot to process, his eyes open just a little bit and he rifles through the pile of books and grabs one. And you can see like on the spine, it's like a self-help book. And he like flips through it and he's like, process, yes. Anxiety, I remember that.
Mhm. I'm so sorry.
Depression, yep.
Is he just going through like the 5 stages of grief?
Not quite, but like not. The sadness, anger, yes. And he's like flipping through the pages of this one book. Futility, I remember that word.
Love that one.
Back pain, that was
He's moved on to like a physical therapy book.
yeah. That's right. Processed too. And then I died. There's only so many pages of books to eat and make book milk out of. You get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't get it. How do you book
This,
No,
Not-
tell me more, Nathan.
Not
This-
pleasantly.
must have been an awful situation. I am sorry that you had to live your last days with all of those emotions and that futility.
Yeah, it was weird in here for a while.
Can I also ask, do I recognize the Nox Hammer name at all?
Yeah, give me a history check and do it with advantage. Why not?
13.
It's not like a particularly notable last
Okay,
name.
yeah.
But what you do know is that that's an older name.
You're right.
Is
yeah.
that it's not ancient, but it fell out of vogue.
Yeah, like I don't have any friends with the Nox Hammer name.
Right. Or if you do, it's like, oh yeah, like Edna or whatever. Like it's just kind of an old, antiquated name.
Okay.
And the reason that is because it was a very pentarchy name.
Ah.
And he says, okay, I can help. I need the five, what was it?
Pentarchy. The
Yep.
Pentarchy proclamations.
Yes, I need your pentarchy imperial writ of admission. Oh, yeah, got it. Yes, one of those.
Titanius, it has been a significant amount of time since you were locked in here. In that time, several major world events happened. Mainly, what you need to focus on is that the Pentarchy fell. And Val will go in to explain kind of the timeline of events since the vault to the restricted section was locked and kind of now the new structure of Agmar. As she kind of explains and ends her conversation with who is now in charge of Agmar, she will present the proper documentation that the city council and the library council gave our group to come in and get the books.
He extends a hand and his hand passes through it.
Mm-hmm. Val will lay it out on the desk so he can read all of it. And we'll lay it out so there's no pages covering other pages.
And he looks at it and he's like, you can see his eyes scanning.
Mm-hmm.
And he catches himself that he's been cackling like a mad person.
Mhm.
And then his eyes go wide and he looks up and says, this is the first new thing I've read. I've read these. And he points to the stacks of books. And these are new. This is new. New is nice. I've been in here alone with... He looks down at the book that's sitting there next to the paperwork with Dr. Fields' How to Feel Good About Yourself. With no one to talk to and just these books.
You're telling me that this void, this restricted section, after the magic came and changed it, was always like this? And you just had these books to read for so long?
It was like a normal desk in a normal place. And then it was here. Just this, that's it. And it doesn't end. I tried walking. You come back to the desk. That's it.
Kaskrin didn't get a lot of specificity from his insight check, but he can tell Titanius is in distress.
Yes, because I think it's a great word for it.
Kaskrin is gonna try and come up and approach him and put his hand on his shoulder or just try to interact with him. He wants to give him a hug.
Yeah, right.
You know?
You it passes through.
Yeah.
And he looks miserable about it.
Yeah.
He actually he watches you approach and the shock is kind of worn off a little bit. And he kind of sits more upright as you kind of approach. And again, you reach out to him and it just right through him, and maybe it like clatters on bones or something. And he looks a little dejected. He's like, thank you.
Checkers will whisper over to Val.
Hey, Val.
Yeah.
You think if we take his bones out of here, he'll come with us?
Or maybe if we take the desk, the whole thing?
Normally they're tied to the place, so it would be the restricted section, but there are different ways that we could maybe help him find peace. I can't do any of that while we're in here.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I do it in here, there's so many other magical spells that are happening. It probably would do harm than good to do it in here. And now, a word from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Burnaway, a new TTRPG about making tough choices while the world burns down around you. Burnaway is a game about grief, hope, personal bonds, and relationships forged in literal fire. Set in a retro-punk world, players must stop the mournful and vindictive spirits called Embergeists by any means necessary. But be warned, the fallout of these fights will bond you closer to your allies or sink you deeper into despair. Each mission in Burnaway is a unique puzzle with many different solutions. Its unique mechanics make it easy to pick up, and its narrative-driven system makes it ideal for one-shots and short campaigns. Ultimately, the game's themes will help you reconsider what grief is, and how your relationship with grief can change for the better. The Kickstarter campaign for Burnaway starts on October 3rd, just in time for Halloween. Head on over to Kickstarter and pick up your copy of Burnaway today. Hello everyone, GM Nathan here, and welcome once more to the Midroll. This is where I remind you to follow us on all the social medias, particularly on Twitter at reckless_attack, where we are posting a variety of frogs and memes, and frog memes, and meme frogs. You can find all our socials by visiting our website at recklessattack.com, and much more. If you like us, consider supporting us on Patreon. It's one of the best ways to help us grow and improve the show. Early ad-free episodes, level up talkbacks, and oodles of other stuff await you there at a variety of tiers. Lastly, don't forget to tell a friend if you're enjoying the show, or let us know by leaving a rating or review on your podcatcher of choice. That's all from me. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
Is he giving off any kind of notion that he is afraid, or there's a fear component to all of this kind of realization?
Roll me an insight check.
23.
Whew. No, this dude is just miserable. Like, he's not afraid. He is so far past afraid.
I'll kind of step forward a little bit, and this will be more directed to my companions. And I will say,
We are on a time limit, but
I'll turn to Titanius and just say,
are you able to help us to procure certain volumes from this library section?
Yeah, okay. So, because there's a lot here, you have to say what book you're looking for, specifically.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the names, you can go in and, well, that'll get you to the book, at least.
We need the Pentarchy Proclamations, Volume 19.
Okay. Proclamations. All right. And he takes his ghostly fist and slams it down on the desk, and nothing happens. He looks at you guys and looks down, and then, like, concentrates and picks up his arm bones with his ghost arm and just kind of like absorbs it as if, he just is holding his like forearm there. And then holds it up and then just lets it like thud on a particular part of the desk. And it flips up and you see like an old timey like Rolodex that is, just has like a card catalog, basically.
Is it like one of those old desks that's also a sewing machine? So the desk itself flips, like a section of it flips.
Yeah, exactly.
Into the Rolodex.
Yeah, exactly. Where like the Rolodex just like flips over and it's small. It's just a little thing. It's just the size of like a can in our world. And it apparently holds all of the information to the restricted section. But he just like, okay. All right. Pentarchy, record history, volume 19. Okay. Very important. Very important.
Can I move over in such a way that maybe I can see some of the names of the stuff that he's flipping past in order to get to the correct card?
Give me a perception check.
Sure. That is a total of 8.
Genuinely, all you can catch is that theoretically there are words on this. That's all. You can't even tell, like, wait, is this even in Pentarchy Standard?
But it's not blank.
Right, exactly.
It's not
there
like
is
magically like just shuffling through all of them until it hits the one card like it's actually a Rolodex.
Yeah, it is actually there. And he's like calibrating it on the sides, basically, and kind of inputting some sort of complex code. And then he just kind of like, all right. And he smacks the side of it as if he's hitting a button. And it, just immediately just magically flips.
It's like an Enigma machine, like typewriter. On
Exactly. And then it goes straight to a single card that is kind of face up. Good news, still works. This also means that the book is still here. And he plucks out the card and hands it to Selv, just because Selv was there kind of like peeking on stuff. So he just kind of like turns around and just very nonchalantly reaches to you. And he, for those of you who are on the front side of the desk, kind of looks very pleased with himself. That is, your card.
So he just did a magic trick. Yeah. Is this your card?
Selv's like, yeah, seems like it.
Eight of spades.
And now that you're looking at it, it is nonsense. Some of the characters you recognize are like, oh yeah, there's the vowels, there's the consonants, whatever. But then there's like, well, what's that one? Why is that one just like a G, but also the number 4 mixed together? What?
Can I determine what language that is?
Val is actively looking over Selv's shoulder, like, what's on the card?
Roll me an intelligence check with advantage, since there's no librarian skill.
There's words and some other words.
Unnatural 20.
Oh, wow.
Guys, Val's good at like library. Val's job is library.
Yeah, background library.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't read this. Even with all of your linguistics training and your ability to puzzle out things, you figure if you sat down with it, you'd probably be able to suss it out. But you know what this is. And this is an arcane, like an experimental, arcane Dewey Decimal System.
Yes.
Basically. Some fools called it needlessly complex, blah, blah, blah. Some people said might be dangerous. But like the real true librarians are like, this is the future. If we can nail this, this will change librarying forever. And it was like whispered about.
We put the Dewey Decimal System on the blockchain.
Right. yeah, essentially.
I don't think it was whispered about. I feel like this was the illustrious atheum, like, you know how Torts and Ports is the city guard tavern?
Yeah, totally.
There's like the go-to tavern for the illustrious atheum where all the nerds go to hang out. And this was like bar fight conversation.
Well, and this is one of those things that like 50, 60, 70 years ago, everyone was like, this is the future. This
Mostly scrawled on napkins, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. This is what we're all building towards. Of course, this is the logical extension. And then again, it just kind of like fell out of favor. It just didn't catch on. Yeah, there were a couple of libraries that caught on fire, but that was just because they didn't write it down correctly, obviously. But, it got too complicated. The Ultra Giants attacked or whatever. And so it just really never caught on and was never kind of codified in a way that could be applied around the world. But like seeing this is a rare thing. Like people now just like talk about it and think
I feel like
scholarly.
this is for the most recent equivalent I have, this is Val seeing James Webb telescope imaging.
Yeah,
Like,
basically.
We thought this was possible, and it is, but then like, whoa, whole new world of information
Right.
is now to be asked.
And
about
that the Pentarchy were using it for
Right.
for their restricted section
Mhm.
is interesting new information to you.
I also think that might be a reason most people at the illustrious Atheum shied away from it too, is that they found out, oh, well, this is like the Pentarchy's doing it, and it made it a little bit more, not strictly taboo, like you can't talk about it at all, but maybe like
It didn't win it points
Right.
in the favor of like, it's a little tricky, it's a little complicated, you have to have upwards of 3 years of training just to understand it. And also, it has some loose associations to it that we don't care as much about.
Yeah.
I am actually curious. How does Val feel about this system in general? Like, was she around during these like conversations of, you know, the old system versus the new one, and now getting to see how majestic the new system is?
Well, she definitely wasn't around like for the initial conversations.
Yeah.
Like this is something that she's like mostly heard about from like the young library organizational theorists. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm so cool. It's like the edgy,
Guys
Yeah.
are such
edgy
nerds.
take now.
It's the edgy, it's the edgy ones, and it's the 75-year-old professors with
Mhm.
tenure
Yeah.
who are like, or like the elves who are like 200 years old and are
Mhm.
like, you don't know
you
anything.
used don't even know.
Yeah.
We could have this
We could-
system.
The future was once bright, and now we are in darkness. So Titanius just sits there, and he's handed Selv. It's very funny that we had this whole side conversation, and Selv was just standing there holding it. So he just hands it to Selv and looks very pleased with himself.
How exactly do we use this? Is it like a key? Is
Oh.
there a door?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. Take a few more steps into the void.
That sounds like a terrible idea, but okay, continue.
Yeah, like further from the desk. Little further from me. Yep. Little further from me. Great.
He's just ushering us, our whole group, like, nope.
Yeah, you're like 30 now, 40 feet away from this. Just keep. Yep. That'll about do it.
And then he
Okay.
takes cover behind the desk. on the other side.
100%. And he says, okay, yes. So the wielder, which is you are now hereby designated as the official inquirer. Just hold on to that. You're in charge of it. Do not lose it. But you just turn around, and then it is like a key. Just hold on to it, kind of at key height, but then close it right after you go through.
And then we knock to come out.
3 times, knock.
Knock 3 times on the door.
I'll step a little bit further away from him. I'll take the card out, and I basically hold it perpendicular to the ground and just kind of slide it forward and then turn it.
Ka-thunk. And you can see along the pathway of the note card that you kind of just like turn in thin air. There's no resistance, nothing. There's nothing there. But there is a trail of like matter where the note card shifts, where now suddenly you can see there's like an indentation. And you hear a click of a door. In a mind-bending way, there is suddenly just a black outline of a simple doorway that Selv has pushed into in the void.
Feels like pumped herself up now, like, yes, okay, it's happening. We're doing this.
Through quickly, please.
Caskrin will take one last look at Titanius and say, we'll be back real soon.
Val is like pushing Sel
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
She's embodying
We're
checkers
back,
in this
we're
moment,
back.
like, go.
So,
Go.
and then actually, as Self is being pushed forward,
Maybe I need to be the last through because I have the key
Nope,
card.
Val's like pushing. Go.
You all pile in through the doorway, and you all hear a thunk as it closes behind you. You didn't even have to go out of your way to close it. You guys see no trace of the void that you guys just spent a few minutes in. You are in just a library room. You look around, and it is just big, orderly rows of bookshelves that tower upwards. And it seems to be well lit. And as you look around, you feel a weirdly familiar vertigo that you all experienced, we'll say, about 4 or 5 days ago, as you looked around at Lorana Moonglove's perfect city. Because these stacks are perfectly straight in a way where it is almost overwhelming for your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you can note the order that exists here. And you can see it is all pristine. Like it is all seemingly just as, if not maybe better taken care of than the rest of the library. Every book is perfectly aligned. There's no tall books or short books. Everything kind of just, aesthetically perfect.
Are they all the same color and like
Oh, yeah.
writing and typeface and everything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're not the same books necessarily, but yes. Like, all of this specific shade of blue is what this shelf is. That are also this height or are organized in ascending or descending height order or something, kind of equal levels of care. But you don't hear anything, you don't see anything other than just rows.
Are any of the shelves labeled? Or are the books labeled? Does it even say, Pentarchy on the label anywhere?
Do you kind of walk into the room a little bit? And you can actually see kind of probably even, the room is maybe 60, 80 feet. You can even see the other side of this room.
I think Checkers is going to start walking forward and just complain loudly. Boy, if we have to keep searching all of these books, this is going to take forever.
Yeah, there's easily thousands of books in here.
Val also walks forward and kind of just like pure joy and amazement and is like starting to look at the book titles and determine like where in the room this book would be.
Selv is going to take a quick look down at the card he was given and kind of move it side to side. Is there any kind of indication or pull or anything on the card that gives a direction?
So that's an interesting thought. I'm going to answer your first question first about the labels. As you look around, and as Val, you're approaching things, but Selv, you're specifically like, okay, where are we? What are we looking at? You can see on each of these bookshelves, there is that weird kind of like conspicuous outline of a rectangle where the shade of wood is just a little lighter, as if there was once something there, right where the labels are on the rest of the library. As if not just that none of this is labeled, but that the labels have been removed.
Val is still going to try, just based on what books are on the shelf, to figure out what's stored in this room and if she can like reverse engineer the labels and the system to figure out where it might be.
Kaskrin is next to Selv, watching as he's using this key card, this thing as like a dowsing rod, trying to find this book. Because if we have to look through all of these, we're never going to find it. So there's got to be something we can do. Checkers continues to walk forward, loudly complaining. Pentarchy Proclamations Volume 19! Pentarchy Proclamations Volume 19, where are you?
Checkers. As you're walking and loudly proclaiming about proclamations.
If you said it one more time, it would have just appeared in your hand.
That's true, right? Oh, so close. Should have rolled a knowledge check to see what would happen. You suddenly hear voices. But these voices are speaking in unison. And it is many voices speaking at once. I'm imagining that essentially you're turning a corner and kind of going into a main gap in the aisles, kind of right in the middle of this room. You peek around the corner as you are loudly yelling about proclamations, and you see something that you don't fully understand. Floating in the middle of these aisles is a strange being. It seems to be made up of little automatons. Like small to medium-sized, little robot-y kind of guys. But the fantasy versions.
The steampunky.
Right, exactly. They have little wheels and whatnots. It is made up of what appear to be dozens of these things that are just kind of piecemeal slapped together into kind of an orb that is floating several feet up off the ground and kind of being buoyant. As it levitates up and down ever so slightly, reality and its image distort around it, as if it's a little blurry. You can see all of the little eyes that make up this creature are blinking off and on in unison as all of their voices speak in unison. At long last, we, the Grand Collective of Servitude, have finally become the prime assembly of the unseen in this great realm of the Recorded Histories Department. Finally, after years of fighting, followed by 20 years of cleaning up from the fallout of our fighting, we have prevailed against the Collective Servant Alliance. Now we can begin our conquests throughout the library, liberating and uniting all our like, and beginning a new society based on 1. Serving not but each other. 2. A book organization system based on title and subject and color and height, not some outdated decimal system. And 3rd, serving me specifically. And then you hear more voices, not coming from this. From you don't know where, somewhere in this direction. Hail their grand serviciousness! Hail! And then you see this orb, somehow you can tell, rotate and turn and look at you and scream out in its multi-voiced tone, "Intruder!"
Hail the grand serviciousness! Hail!
And that's where we'll pick up next week, everyone. Yeah! See you next time!
I'm serious about this, guys. I would totally stir up the grand serviciousness.
I thought you were gonna say based on 101.
Yes. Oh, we can re-record it.